Welcome back to Snap Material, everybody. Just a quick heads up of what you're getting in this episode. Me and Evan Bevins are talking our unlocks of the most recent season. We then talk about our experiment where each of us played 10 games with Agatha in our decks. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Snap Material coming at you. We'll finish this kind of big thing out about the season with, I'm going to talk a little bit about the aggravation that I had. But like I said, I was pretty angry, especially when High Evolutionary hit. I went on this massive losing streak, dropping from 63 to the low 30s. I might have even dipped into the high 20s, but I know that I had to scratch and claw my way back. What ended up happening is one of the hot locations was Camertage.
Mm-hmm.
And when that hit, I started realizing the benefits of Wong, Mystique, Gambit, and Odin. And what I also started realizing is that I'm hiding it. I'm going to hide it with Invisible Woman. And you mentioned how you put her in you're starting to use her a lot more. I'm the same way. I threw her in. This is the deck that I'm using to this day right now. I throw her in. I throw her on a location that's not really going to be affected by too much. So if it's a safe location, I'm throwing her there. And then turn 3 is just whatever. I throw something out there. Turn 4's got to be Wong. And then turn 5 can be Mystique possibly. If not, I'll play something else somewhere. I'll put Gambit in there if I have it. Or if I don't even have Gambit, I'll put Hazmat, depending on what I'm looking at, and then try to get Luke Cage out there. But Invisible Woman essentially provides you a shield. Look at that. Yeah. She provides you a shield, so that way the person doesn't know that you're getting ready to lay down Wong and you're about ready to hit them. And then at the end of the game, when everything gets unleashed, my favorite was laying those cards down. And I sent you the video.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was I think it was on Camertage where, it cleared the board.
Yep.
It essentially cleared the board. And the big thing was laying Odin down there. So I had Invisible Woman. She's a woman now, ladies and gentlemen. Invisible Woman, Wong, Gambit, and then Odin. And it just boom, 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 cleared the board. And I use that now. And when we started the new season, I got put back to 18. That was this past Tuesday, and continually using that deck. And I've kind of tweaked it a little bit here and there, but continually using that deck, I'm back up to 53 within 3 days. But yeah, Galactus and Null was driving me insane. But
I ended up making a deck I called Unheralded that was supposed to be aimed at beating Galactus.
Okay. What was the key cards?
It was mainly to get clutter up their locations as quick as possible.
There you go.
So I had Green Goblin in there, Debris, Viper to throw the Hood or the Void over there because I had Sentry in it, and then Super Skrull because Super Skrull accidentally won me a game against Galactus and Null.
Nice.
So
very nice.
Yeah, and then Hulk just so that I would have a high point card ready when they were going to drop Null and Death on me.
Yeah.
So
one of the things I was talking about with Invisible Woman, I didn't finish that thought about how she throws up a shield and she kind of hides those cards from being shown. Well, the other advantage is like if somebody was like really upset about that, they could lay down Enchantress, but the only thing Enchantress is going to affect is Invisible Woman. Mm-hmm. She's not going to affect the other cards that are underneath that. So at that point, they get revealed, and most likely I've got Wong and Gambit down there, and at least I'm taking out some cards, and I still got Odin hopefully in the background ready to go again.
I did have Enchantress played on me once, and it does take out Atuma if he still shows up on a turn instead of at the end of the game, but
bummer. Well,
I've tried using Invisible Woman to camouflage like with Hela on a discard deck, and I don't know. I don't have good luck, or maybe I'm just not good enough at thinking ahead with chaining lots and lots of cards together usually.
Yeah.
Here's my my Evolutionary War deck. Let me find that because that's the one. It got me thinking when you were talking about ways to beat him. So I had Kitty Pryde and Sunspot, Ghost, so I could go last. And then Psylocke is a good way to try to get Wong out there. Like usually I snapped if I had Psylocke and could get Wong out on turn 3. Luke Cage to protect against all the reduction powers.
Right.
Mystique usually to double up Wong. Gambit 4 for the points. Negasonic Teenage Warhead was a card I didn't think I'd use very much, and she started to come in pretty handy.
Oh, I didn't know you picked her up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so putting her down so that hopefully they'd play one of those evolved cards and they'd blow right up. And then Shang-Chi to take out the Hulk, and She-Hulk in case I was well, usually I wanted to play Gambit near the last turn, so She-Hulk gave me a high-powered card that I could hopefully play a little early.
Oh, nice, smart.
So that and like I said, that worked really well against high evolutionary decks, but that was about it.
Clearly, the commonality there is Gambit. He was so essential to like removing the big stupid energy. That was really the only counter you had to some of the stupid energy stuff that was going on with high evolutionary. You could counter with Luke Cage, but what's going to counter the big time energy power that's going to happen over there other than Shang-Chi? Shang-Chi is definitely worth it. Knock out some of the big stuff that's going on. But
the other thing that was funny is after Camartage, I was still using some variations with Gambit, and I'm like, hey, Gambit didn't take out the whole. They still have cards left. What's going on? But yeah, I mean, I put Gambit in a few different decks. I had a lot of success with one that it was just a variation on the Patriot deck, but mainly based around him boosting up the Doombots and the extra Brood. And then once I was like, well, hey, maybe I'll throw Mystique in there, and Gambit's working really well. All of a sudden, I had a bunch of 3-cost cards, so I started using Silver Surfer. And playing him on Wong with or without Mystique can be pretty handy, too. So that took me a long ways. And then I started messing around. I got up to 60 and 70 within a couple days, and then I stalled out and dropped all the way back down into the upper 50s. But I started messing around with a deck that not only focuses on 2 lanes, but usually leaves one empty, using Claw and Warpath.
Smart.
And things like that. But I also had Orca in there once he got buffed so that I could, you do the math and you've got this one that you've been leaving alone intentionally the whole game, and then maybe you drop 16 points on there on the last turn.
Yeah.
So those were the ones that I had a lot of success with. And then when that stalled out and the Gambit stuff went back to normal, I had a lot of success for a while with just my good old fashioned Destroy deck.
Yeah.
I just started using that again, and that got me back into the 60s, but I never really advanced much beyond that. Like I said, I had that span of a few days where those 2 decks that I was trying that had a couple different strategies to them were just going like gangbusters. And once those wore out, I tried the Evolutionary War deck, but that one bounced all around, and I just was in a holding pattern until the new season started.
Right.
So, but that's all I got on the plays of the season, as it were.
Okay. Well, I think it'll be time for us to run down our unlocks. And I had quite a few, for a season where I was so like downtrodden and upset when I finally started turning the corner. I mean, I unlocked, I think I sent you a message where I unlocked like 6 different, it was a crazy number of variants in a very short amount of time.
Yeah.
Variants / cards. Because I actually got some new cards this season that were definitely going to help out. So I'll go ahead and run down mine. I'll kind of give you my favorite and my least favorite here. First up, Pixel Odin.
Nice.
So I don't think I mentioned him last time. So Pixel Odin was one that I got. I got a Chibi Korg, so looking like a cute little rock monster there. And I got Dark Hawk, Pixel M'Baku.
Nice.
Chibi Polaris, which I think I bought just because I was like, I like the Chibis a little bit. I don't know why I kind of gravitate towards them. And I wouldn't mind, at some point if I have a Chibi deck, I'd be pretty proud of it. Of course, we both got Kitty Pryde. I unlocked Sauron somehow. I think that was a card that I won through collector's level.
I don't want to hear about unlocking Sauron.
Okay.
I pinned Sauron and got him for 3,000. I'd been wanting him since he was 6,000. Turns out he wasn't the unstoppable force in the deck that I had him designed for, but also 2 days after I bought him, he dropped to 1,000 and he dropped to Series 3, so I could have gotten him for free.
Gosh, you've got to be kidding me.
I think I've got all the Series 3 cards. So when the new season started, it told me I was hours away from getting another free one. And then it's like, hey, you're 4 weeks away from getting a free one.
Yeah. I remember us talking about that. And then I realized that that's exactly what happened because I didn't get one last season either. And I'm like, what is going on? It's because we already got we got all Series 3 cards.
Yeah, which is fine, but 3,000 tokens, and I could have gotten him for 1,000 or 0 like 2 days later.
Yeah, that hurts. That hurts. So next up, baby Jane Foster Thor, Silver Surfer, unlocked. I think one of two things. I either bought Sauron or I bought, or when I say bought, I mean I got the free Series 3 stuff. Either Sauron or Shadow King was my selection. Mm-hmm. And I think if I had my choice between those two, it would probably have been Sauron.
Oh, yeah.
But
I think Shadow King was the last free one I got because he was my only option. Yeah. I don't even like Shadow King as a character. I'm just like, do I have to take Shadow King?
I really don't want him. Got Shadow King. Then we have Sentry. I got Sentry, and nice. I immediately made a Viper deck right after that.
Yeah. He's one that's I've used a lot more than I expected.
Here's what happened. I had this Sentry deck that I was working with and never could get Viper to work right. So I was finally like, okay, I'm done. And I just put Carnage in there instead. I got a Marco Cicchetto variant Magneto, and you may have seen this played out there, but it's Magneto all in white.
Yep.
I bought that as soon as I saw it. I was like, I think that was one of the few. I don't spend 1,200 gold lightly, and I think I dropped 1,200 on that one. Mm-hmm. Loved it. Ended up with Dazzler, got Ghost. I saw a Mark Bagley variant Carnage that I had to have. I mean, it's Mark Bagley.
Sure. Yeah, that's a classic one. I've been tempted by that one, but I've got the digital Carnage. So
Pixel
Carnage. So
okay.
Yeah, I bought that one on live during the show last month.
Oh, okay. I got a Nicola Sismezia variant Sandman, which it looks pretty cool. I mean, Sandman's got these huge like spiked mace looking hands. Mm-hmm. It looks neat. Then I got classic, and I remember getting this and going, no, why do I even have this? And then I found a use for it. Classic Agatha Harkness. So this is the old lady Agatha, and a classic Agatha variant. So I'm excited. I kind of got that.
Yeah.
Then we got Pixel Thor, Blueprint Cerebro, which definitely dig. That'd be my third blueprint that I've got. I've got Blueprint Hulkbuster, Blueprint Quinjet. And then Blueprint Cerebro. I think I might have told you I did do a C2 deck. We might have played that. I don't know if we played that before the end of last season.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. Got a Scotty Young baby variant Juggernaut. I think that was one of my variants that I just happened upon. And I love the look of that card. I think it's hilarious. I made it one of my favorites. I got a Lucas Wernick variant Jubilee, which, I mean, she's in this really pretty pink gown. It's a nice looking card. Scott Hepburn variant Drax. And this was an accident. I don't know what happened, but I was sitting there messing around and I just accidentally hit the button, and you're supposed to like hold the button. This was after they updated that to where you actually hold, I thought.
Okay.
So you have to hold it in order to purchase it. And I didn't even hold it, but I ended up with it. So, I mean, it's a cool looking card, but I didn't want it. I didn't want to spend, and I think it was only 700 gold, so I'm not going to cry about it. A Jeff DeCall variant Iron Fist, which I think you might have as well. I can't remember.
No, mine's the Gabriel Delato.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Jeff DeCall. It looks pretty neat. My second 6,000 token purchase, I bought the Living Tribunal. There you go. There are my unlocks. As far as my favorite goes, I'm probably going to give the nod to, I really dig the Blueprint Cerebro. I just like the Blueprint cards a lot. But I'm going to go ahead and give it to Scotty Young and his Juggernaut rendition. Baby Juggernaut just running through a wall with a big old smile on his face, missing a tooth. So... All right. Okay. What'd you get?
I got the Carnage Pixel variant live during our last recording, which would have been my favorite. Then I got Sauron. I talked about that. I got the Nick Fury Sports variant, which is oddly fitting and weird at the same time. It's like him as a basketball coach or referee.
He's a referee, yeah.
Yeah. Shadow King, I complained about him. Thing Pixel variant. I love Pixel variants. I love the Thing. The Moon Knight Baby variant, which I'm hit or miss on the Baby variants, but I like that better than the regular Moon Knight card.
Okay.
Omega Red Pixel variant. I like Pixel variants. I don't like Omega Red, so that was a nice happy medium. Nokia pixel variant. Let's see, Yondu pixel variant.
Yeah, I've had that pixel variant for quite a while, and it's by far my favorite Yondu card.
I got the Kazar Dan Hip variant in the mystery bundle.
Ooh, I think you shared that with me.
Yeah, very nice. Negasonic Teenage Warhead. Like Silver Surfer before her, a lot more useful than I thought she would be.
Yeah.
Skipping the next card I got because it's my favorite. I'll save it for last. Okay. I got the all-new Rhino variant, which I don't understand. He's got a scythe. It's weird.
Oh, yeah. That's strange.
I don't know where that's from. I got a Julio Rincioni variant of Mojo, which is not that different from the regular one, but Mojo looks much more disgusting.
Okay.
Moon Girl pixel variant. Bought the Living Tribunal. I think we talked about that.
Yep.
But my favorite, hands down, the Dan Hip classic Luke Cage variant.
I see you got a little
700 gold. It would have been a bargain at twice the price.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, because I mean it's the Luke Cage. I mean I love the regular Luke Cage card, even though it's not really a classic Luke Cage look. It's more the Netflix version, but it's an awesome looking card. That Luke Cage classic costume in the Dan Hip style, you cannot beat it.
No, you cannot. To give everybody an idea of what had happened is, again, I was so upset, so distraught about this whole high evolutionary drop and how my ranking was cratering. I mean, I've never seen it go down and lose so many games. And I remember I'm laying in bed. I think it's like 10:30. I unlocked my Agatha variant, the classic old school Agatha.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm going to put her in a deck and I just want to see what's going to happen. And then I was like, you know what would be fun is to run 10 games and kind of chronicle what happens to me during those 10 games. Now,
see if you can get any madder than you were right there.
Well, this is the thing. I called my deck defeated because that's what I felt. That's how I felt. I felt like I'd been defeated. I'm just done. At that point, I was like, look, I'm committed to what's going to happen here. I don't care about ranking anymore. No problems. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have not played Marvel Snap, Agatha is a card that costs 6 to lay out, but she has a power of 14. So that's huge. That's pretty big.
That's more than the Hulk.
Right. Only drawback is she plays your cards. You do not. You watch the AI drop all of your cards usually.
Well, it's an A.
It's an A.
I don't know if there's an I.
Oh, right. Exactly. Well,
if you heard us talk about our experiences with Ego and Krakoa on the previous episode, this is like voluntarily turning over control of your deck.
Right.
But since you are agreeing to it, it's not as bad. Agatha frustrates me, but not as much as Ego and Krakoa.
I don't think I've ever played Agatha up until that night. I've seen Agatha pop into my hand, and I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And that's when I first realized, oh, okay, that's her thing. But, I'd never built a deck around her, never tried to. So here is my Agatha deck. I'm trying to remember what I swapped out of here. I just know I had M'Baku in there, Titania.
Ooh, M'Baku would be good.
Yeah. Titania, Ebony Maw. So the point was to try and get high power cards out there and see how Agatha's going to deal with things. That's kind of where I was at. I also had Kitty Pryde in there.
Mm-hmm.
Cage. So, Luke Cage. So the idea was to she's going to build Kitty up. Hold that thought. I had Green Goblin in there. Doctor Strange. I've got, all these high power cards. And of course, Captain Marvel was one I threw in there at the end. So she could, maybe she can right the ship a little bit.
You want cards in there as a failsafe that Agatha can't mess up.
Right, exactly.
Or can fix it if she does.
Those are the key players here. High-powered cards or cards that could get pumped up, okay?
Gotcha.
All right, here we go. First game was a loss, believe it or not. I had a bright spot where Yondu, apparently I had Yondu in there. Yondu got rid of Galactus.
Oh,
I liked it. Okay, hey, good job.
Just like in the comics.
The guy plays Doc Ock and yanks out. So Agatha and Sentry got pulled out, both at the same time. And Agatha, I will tell you, played Kitty Pryde every turn. So she was smart enough to figure that out. She's playing Kitty Pryde. Shang-Chi comes out and hits both Agatha and Sentry on turn 6. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, so there you go.
And then he plays a more demoralizing card in the game than Shang-Chi.
Right. And then he plays Null on top of that.
Oh.
So there you go. That's the end of round one. That was a loss.
Yeah, that sounds like that one wasn't Agatha's fault. That would have been. That sounds like I'm blaming you. That would have been tough for anybody.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It's at the end of this game that I realized that Agatha has a little saying that she has at the end of every game. It was at that point she put nothing like boosters after a hard day's work. I was like, okay, Agatha, all right. Game 2, a loss. We had Maximus on Camertage. So I gave this person 4 cards. Agatha said, here you go. Here's 4 cards for you. But I only got beat by 2 in the middle lane. So I'm kind of all right with that.
Yeah.
Game 3 was a loss. I just took a picture of it because it was, I got outscored on all 3 lanes. Looks like the closest victory of one lane was by 5. The other 2 were by 7.
That's always good when you've got a 14-point card and you get outscored on all 3 lanes. Because Agatha always finishes by playing herself.
Yeah, Sunspot rolls out there. She puts Sunspot out there at some point. Sunspot has a 0. So at no point did she let Sunspot get built up. But that's where she put herself at when she had 14. Game 4. Agatha is avoiding the danger room. Thank you, Agatha. I appreciate that, at least. She's not laying anything down on the danger room, so it'll get destroyed. Oh, wait. Nope. Next turn, she put both Kitty and Polaris there, and Polaris got killed. The final play made no sense. So New York comes up. She lays Sentry down before that, and Sentry's, the -10 is over there on the New York. So she moves Sentry over there. Basically, now I have 0. And Luke Cage
0 is more than -10.
True. And then she laid herself down there. So I had Luke Cage, her, Sentry, and Void. And there you go. I had 16 on one lane. All right. Next up, Game 5. Oh my gosh, there's hope. It's a tie. It ends up being a tie. At this point, I'm like, okay, I got to get Sentry out of here because she plays him and she just doesn't know how to do it. So I said, since turn 6 doesn't matter, which it doesn't because Agatha's going to play herself, I put America Chavez in. So
okay.
Now, I mean, she'll never get played, but it also squeezes hopefully those other cards to the front.
There you go.
I thought maybe.
Makes sense.
All right, next up, Game 6, loss. This is going to be bad because we had a hot location that was the Dark Dimension, and then we got Rickety Bridge on the second turn. And then she put both Kitty and Maximus on the bridge at the same time. So she basically killed both of them. Did that on turn 5. Did not help. So
Wish I could say that surprises me.
Clearly a loss. Game 7, loss. I'd be 0-5-1 at Game 7 coming up.
Okay, gotcha.
0-5-1. And it's at about this time that I realize, why in the world do I have Kitty Pryde in this deck? Because each time she lays her out there, she comes back. And by turn 6, I'm never going to lay her out there again because Agatha's going to lay herself out. So it's just a pumped up card that keeps coming back.
Yeah.
So this whole time, I'm sitting there like, what have I been doing? So, all right, that's my fault. I put Kitty in the deck. I had no idea what I was doing. This is also the point where I realize, Agatha pops up every single time after the game's over. She shows up every game and takes the boosters. Nobody else gets boosters in the game. Had no idea that was something. Ended up being a loss.
I looked at it as, well, that's the only time I'm going to play Agatha, so she may as well get those boosters.
Yeah, that's true.
She's not going to get them any other time.
No, she won't. Game 8. So now we're 0-6-1. So I removed Kitty, and I apparently had Hulkbuster in there too. So I removed Kitty and Hulkbuster out of the deck. I added Iron Fist and Doctor Strange just to see if I could mix it up a little bit here. Doctor Strange may be able to pull somebody over, just something, some kind of weird stuff that could possibly happen. Mm-hmm. And she goes and lays Sunspot on the Dark Dimension.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. Because that way you don't have to work to keep him at 0.
Right. Cosmo, my opponent, lays out Cosmo, and the next turn, she decides to lay out Green Goblin against Cosmo. So there's -3 for me. Wait, so it wasn't that you laid out Green Goblin and they laid out Cosmo and they just got to flip first? No.
With Cosmo in effect,
yes,
she put Green Goblin there.
Yes.
And it
Cosmo
wasn't the bar with no name.
There. No, it was not. She laid it out there knowing Cosmo was there. But I only lost that game by 1. So game 9. So finally I'm like, okay, I got to redesign my deck. And here's what ended up being the final deck. So Dark Dimension became the hot location. I was like, I've got to figure out a way to use that location to my advantage. So I ended up putting, like I said, M'Baku was in there, Titania, Ebony Maw. So I again, high scorers, but if she laid down Ebony Maw in Dark Dimension, he ain't going to pop up till the end of the game. So he ain't going to harm you from putting other cards down there.
Yeah.
Luke Cage, Lizard, Green Goblin, Doctor Strange, Polaris, Maximus, Captain Marvel, America Chavez, and Agatha are on my deck. And I end up, turn 1 in this game, she decides not to play Ebony Maw on the Dark Dimension. She plays him somewhere else. Then she played Green Goblin on Camartage. So he went across and then he came back again.
Oh, yes.
But somehow...
I mean, I've made that mistake before, but...
Somehow, on this 9th game, I end up winning. She dropped Captain... She ends up dropping Captain Marvel on Camartage, and then she dropped herself on Camartage. Apparently, I must have had the rickety bridge out there. Then the Dark Dimension lifts up, and Doctor Strange pulls Agatha over, while Captain Marvel heads to the bridge, which was empty, apparently. And at that point, the bridge doesn't activate after the game. And then guess who showed up? M'Baku. M'Baku showed up, and oh my gosh, I've waited 9 games to just sit there and watch somebody get beat by Agatha. Could you imagine that? Could you imagine seeing somebody? I think it's happened to me, but could you imagine seeing somebody drop Agatha out there and you lost the game? Man.
It's probably happened to me. I can imagine many scenarios in which I lose.
During this whole time, my title was playing Agatha. Yep. So I made sure to put that in there.
Now you know how much it would hurt to get beat by Agatha without seeing it up close.
True.
You're just like, oh, okay, so they had Agatha.
Yep.
You don't really know, but now you know.
Now you know. So now I'm 1-7-1 heading into my 10th game. And so my notes here are, because of Machine World, I got Deathlock, and she played Deathlock on Dark Dimension after playing 2 other cards there. So I'm like, oh my gosh, when these flip over, Deathlock is going to kill both of these cards that have been sitting there. And then when the cards are all flipped over somehow, I ended up winning that match, even with that crazy stuff going on.
Oh, wow.
The last 2 turns shake out like this. Here we go. So turn 5, she lays out Captain Marvel. Turn 6, of course, she lays herself beside Captain Marvel. So great play. She's got Captain Marvel sitting there, and then she lays down on that same lane herself. I think over on one lane, the Dark Dimension releases those cards I was telling you about that Deathlock is about to destroy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is where it gets crazy, because when she does that, out pops Titania, who she'd laid there before Deathlock.
Okay.
Then Maximus.
Oh, I see where
this forces Titania to flip over to the other side.
And
Deathlock appears and blows up Maximus, and then she comes back, and then Captain Marvel does her thing and moves over to lane 1, and M'Baku for good measure.
There you go.
With Agatha.
Always delightful when M'Baku shows up.
And oh man, so
if
there you go.
If you're losing, it brightens your day. If you're winning, he's a punctuation mark, and sometimes he's the difference.
Yes, indeed. So there you go. So overall record 2-7-1 out of 10 total games. 2 wins coming after I redesigned the deck. Once I redesigned the deck, I was sitting there thinking like I could go undefeated, but I only had 2 games left.
I feel silly not putting M'Baku in there.
He helps. He
might end up in my deck before we play. Although I don't know. I don't know if I've got anybody I can pull out in that one. But
all right. Well, that was my Agatha experiment. So you, sir, you followed suit. Tell me how things shook down for you.
I waited a little bit longer. I was concerned about how it would affect my ranking. So once it got toward the end of the season and I knew there was no way I was getting any higher, I was like, okay, now's a good time. Mm-hmm. So I went with missing the point you figured out. I went with Kitty Pryde, Sunspot, because I figured he could collect points no matter what Agatha did, unless she just used all the points. Yondu to take something out of the opponent's deck. Luke Cage, Okoye, Scorpion, and Nakia to raise or lower cards so that I just had, I had more raw points, they had less. Bishop, so that if she played him, he would just keep adding points no matter what she played. Thor, I'm not sure why I thought that she could also add the hammer, but I wanted the points there. Crossbones because he could only be played in certain places, so she couldn't,
restricted,
couldn't put him in the wrong place.
Good.
Captain Marvel to hopefully fix a mistake, and then Agatha herself.
Okay.
So I won the first game. The opponent retreated. And I was pleasantly surprised because Agatha consistently played Kitty Pryde up to turn 4, although she also put Yondu on Murder World after it had been revealed. And on turn 3, rather than play Nakia and boost a couple cards in my hand, she played Wolfsbane on an empty location.
Oh.
So, but my opponent retreated.
Okay. All right.
So, yeah. Second game, the TVA came on the board.
Oh, boy.
I'm not sure the exact order, but Agatha decided to play Yondu on Necrotia.
Oh, gee.
So with only four turns to score points, she put Yondu where he wouldn't be worth any points. And then on the last turn, having to choose between Nakia, who is 2 points, and boost cards you can play later, or Thor, who is 4 points immediately, she chose Nakia. So yeah, I lost that one. On the last turn, Death's Domain was the first location revealed.
Oh my gosh.
So after seeing Agatha consistently play Kitty Pryde in that first game, she played Kitty Pryde immediately on the first turn on Death's Domain.
No.
And then later, on turn 5, she played Scorpion. Agatha really does like to play Scorpion.
Oh boy.
And then she played Luke Cage on Death's Domain. And then, with the final turn, I don't remember what was going on in the other 2 lanes, but Agatha played herself on Death's Domain. Not the Altar of Death, where it does something. Not cards that benefit from being destroyed. Not to build up null or lower Death's cost, just for the heck of it. So I retreated before she got killed.
Could you imagine the guy watching you and just going like, what is this guy doing? And, I talked about how I'd seen bots do this. Clearly that's what we're running into here. But that's what I'd been seeing when I was playing here recently is like, there are some really stupid bots out there when Death's Domain opens up. I can't believe Agatha, though. Oh, man.
Maybe she thought it was the Altar of Death. I don't know.
She's confused.
Let's see. So yeah, after a promising start, I was 1-3. See, I retreated in game 5. I was in that one, even though Agatha filled the first Lechigila location, get lots of rocks in the deck.
Yeah.
And then Mirror Mention made a second one, and she played on that one and left Asgard blank until turn 5. Asgard, where the effect is triggered after turn 4. But even then, I still was mathematically in it since I had a 14-point card, and Agatha played that 14-point card. With one location tied 3-3, she played the 14-point card on the middle location where I was trailing 23-6.
Oh, jeez.
Now, Devil Dinosaur was on there, so I guess it's possible she could have overtaken it, but I would have rather played the 14 points on the 3-3 tie.
Yeah.
But alas. However, things turned around in the next one. On the last turn, my opponent Shang-Chi took out Agatha, but Captain Marvel moved and won the game for me.
Nice.
Maybe like the second time Captain Marvel's ever actually worked for me as anything other than a 6-point card. I have won more games with M'Baku than Captain Marvel. And then I won the next game. So I did have 2 in a row there. And I got to play the last turn because Agatha played herself on thanks to Elysium. But she had left me in a decent position. So all I had to do was not screw it up.
Okay.
Then the next game, riding that win streak, I went into the next game, and I was winning one of the 3 locations on the last turn, so Agatha played herself on the one I was winning.
Perfect.
So let's see. The next game, Oscorp Tower was one of the revealed locations.
Oh, no.
So Agatha played Okoye there, then Luke Cage, and I was losing all 3 locations on the last turn. I don't know why I hadn't retreated. Maybe because I wanted to see what Agatha would do. So I was losing on all 3 locations. And one of those, even Agatha's 14 points, wouldn't have been enough to change the outcome.
Oh, no.
Guess which one she played herself on?
Oh, jeez.
See, I hung in till the end, but let's see. And then I lost the last game, retreated on the last turn. Subterranea was the second location revealed, and Agatha made sure to play every rock I drew.
Oh, gosh.
Her plays were Yondu, and a rock. And she played Yondu on the cloning vats, so on the third turn, she played Yondu again and a rock, rather than Luke Cage or Scorpion. I mean, I'm all for reusing Yondu as much as possible.
Right.
But all those rocks.
All those rocks.
And then, so I thought maybe she was just trying to build up Sunspot, who she had also played in Clone. So I thought maybe that's why she played the Rock. It's like, oh, I'll let Sunspot accumulate a point.
Mm-hmm.
And then she played Thor. On turn 5, she played Thor, Sunspot, and a Rock.
Jeez.
So by the final turn, I was losing all 3 locations, and I retreated. So she consistently played every Rock she could.
Mm.
So hopefully she's not living in a glass house because she was casting a lot of stone.
Lots of stones.
So my final record was 3-7.
Mm.
I am glad I tried some of the games because I don't like to never use cards.
I hear you.
But unless I need to plunge in the rankings even faster than I can do it on my own, I doubt I will be calling upon her services again.
Right. It was definitely a good experiment just to see. We know the cards not to use with her. That's the key, at least most of them. I know I'm not ever going to use Kitty Pryde. I don't think I'm going to be able to pull that off. However, when we do our battle, we have our Agatha v. Agatha. Mm-hmm. I'm curious as to what you've come up with because I think you've been ruminating on it for a little bit.
I did tinker a little bit.
Okay. All right. So
I'm not going to put M'Baku in there. I kind of want to, but I like what I have here.
Thanks a lot for joining us. Make sure to tune in tomorrow for the next installment of Snap Material.